Today's project will require the use of your colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a piece of white paper. Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky. We're back for another art project today. Today's theme is Valentine's Day, but don't worry, if you don't want to draw a lot of hearts, you don't have to. You can adapt this to all kinds of different shapes you like, and even different holidays if you'd prefer. We're going to study the element of art shape today. In this case, it's mostly hearts. And we're also going to study a principle of design called rhythm. Now, if you like music, you know all about rhythm. And instead of talking about rhythm in sound, we're going to talk about rhythm in visuals, in art, how we can represent a sense of rhythm by what we see in our art. And the artist I'm going to introduce you today, he does a great job at that. His name is Wassily Kandinsky. He's a Russian artist. He lived a long time ago. In 1866 is when he was born, and he died in 1944. He's a very famous originator of abstract art. That's the kind of art that doesn't present reality exactly as we typically see it. Our artist today, Wassily Kandinsky, created this artwork. It's named Composition 8. You can see this at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. He created this in 1923. But what I want you to think about when you look at this is I would like you to think about music, because one thing Kandinsky is famous for is how he liked to interpret music in his paintings. He would either listen to music or try to show what music would look like on the page. He shows something that you only hear, but he shows it with the sense of sight. Now, how do you accomplish this? Well, Kandinsky, he did this through showing different lines in a rhythm. So, rhythm is when you have a repetition of certain elements to create a kind of mood in your artwork. Just like in music, there's a rhythm. You've got a drum beat and you have musical notes that get repeated over and over again. Creates a sense of rhythm you can dance to, you can clap your hands and snap your fingers to. Well, in this art, there's lots of things that get repeated in various regular intervals. You can see the lines, how they get repeated next to each other, several. Imagine that like a beat, boom, 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 with the three lines next to each other. Or even the circles, the concentric circles that are stacked on each other. Imagine that like a certain note that starts soft and gets stronger and stronger as it works its way out. That's a possibility as well. Maybe some of the colors represent a higher note that is a lighter color, and maybe a lower note that is a darker color here with this circle. So I'd like to show you what we're doing today. This is my daughter Grace's interpretation of this artwork. You'll notice in the center, she created the shape of a heart. And that shape expands outward in a regular rhythm. Just imagine the music of bump, 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 the beats as they go out. And if it's a heart, what would that make that beat? Well, of course, it makes it a heartbeat. So Grace chose to do one heart, two heart, three hearts layered. And then as she worked her way out, what she did is this scribbly line where she repeated different colors throughout. It's a pattern of colors. It goes yellow, I think it's red, pink, and then maybe blue, and it repeats itself as it travels out. And it pretty much fills the page. She chose to put a few other little hearts in the middle of this, but this one is the central heart where things beat out from. This is my daughter Lizzie's creation. She decided to do something different than a heart for hers, which is totally fine. It's actually time for Girl Scouts to start selling cookies. It's their cookie season, and she's a Girl Scout. So she decided to do this with Girl Scout cookies. This is a s'mores cookie. This looks like a thin mint. I don't know what this is. This is one of the new lemon ones they have, something like that. But what she did is she took the basic shape of these cookies right in here. And then from each cookie, she built out this rhythm of these lines, the same kind of jagged lines. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. And this one fills up the entire page. Here's what I did. This is several heartbeats. What we have is one, two, three, four, five primary hearts here. And each of them is beating and radiating out in a general rhythm. And you can do something like this in your own artwork if you want to use hearts, but this isn't the only shape you could use. But this is great for Valentine's Day to do a heartbeat. And you keep radiating out this rhythm and they start bumping into each other and until it goes out all off the edges of the page. When I was 9 years old and in fourth grade, this is my art project. I wanted to make sure you could see it really clearly. Does that look familiar? This is the cover to a fiction story I wrote called My Incredible Powers. But you can see how I did this exact same design. I was obsessed with doing these rhythmic squiggles from a certain point. And that was one I did of many when I was in elementary school. One of my favorite ways to doodle. You use any shape you want. You could even make a simple circle or a dot to start from, but I'm going to use block letters and spell the word love, and the O is going to be a heart. And then I'm going to outline the letters first. I'm going to use warm colors, red, orange, brown, yellow for this one, but you use what colors you want. You need something that can have a decently fine point, because when you do those squiggly lines, you need to be able to keep them from looking like they're just a big blur. You need to be able to show a distinct squiggle. There. So I outlined that, and now I'm going to build out with the next color, which is going to be orange. And you get to decide how big you want your squiggle to be. So here's a tip. The bigger you make your squiggle, the less time it's going to take to fill up the space. It doesn't look necessarily as good. Another tip is to rotate your paper as you go, because your hand is going to get very sore if you keep trying to adjust your hand. Oh, I got a cat here. Hello, Maggie. Maggie, are you attacking my pencil? No, we don't eat my pencil. Hi, darling. Maggie, I'm trying. I know, sweetheart, I love you, but no, let's move you, okay? This is not okay. Yes, round and round, all the letters. This is the first layer. My squiggles are not teeny. If you're very patient and you want to spend more time on yours, you could make your squiggles even smaller. Just means that every layer is going to be smaller and you will end up with a lot more layers, which can look really neat. Really depends on how long you want to spend on this process. If you don't finish it all in one sitting and your hand gets cramped, you can always go back later and do it in different stages. Try to keep the layers around the same size if you want to have that rhythm be very regular, a regular rhythm, one that's a consistent beat, boom, 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 like a heartbeat. But if you make some layers larger and some layers smaller, you'll show a change in the beat. Maybe that's something you want to show too. Right now, I am trying to mimic the idea of a heartbeat, and heartbeats are generally pretty consistent. So we're going to make these layers of rhythm pretty consistent. And you see where they come together here? Well, you don't need to try to squish another layer between them. You just keep going around. Eventually, they're all going to mush together. Just keep going round and round with those squiggly lines in alternating colors until it keeps going further and further out. You could stop at this point if you really wanted to, or you can continue to fill up the entire page. I decided to fill up the entire page, and this is what it looks like. But then I decided to color in the letters too, so this is the finished product. Thanks for taking the time to do art with me today. I had a great time and I hope you did too. Please take a moment and share your work with me. I'd love to see what you created.